drink of the week this week is water. Hello everybody and welcome to Aggathon's Rage Bar, episode 18, the show where we drink delicious drinks and talk about great video games. I'm trying to come up with something new. The drink of the week is not actually water. Gotcha. Although I am not going to be drinking, sort of in honor of the Get Buffed challenge. Don't worry, I'm not stopping drinking altogether. It's like -5 outside. I didn't want to go hunt down a beer, really, is what it comes down to, and probably shouldn't be drinking for Get Buffed anyway, but probably my only drinking is going to be for Aggathon's Rage Bar, so once a week I will get a tasty beer. But I'm not going to leave you guys high and dry without a beer this week, so before we get into other announcements and such, the beer I am going to recommend for you this week is called Buffalo Sweat. It's brewed in Manhattan, Kansas by the Tallgrass Brewing Company, and it's a oatmeal cream stout is what they categorize it as. So you may be sitting here going, egg. Okay, two things. First, it's in a can. Secondly, buffalo sweat? That sounds disgusting. And first off, on the can, you have a point. I'm very, very skeptical of any beer that brands itself as being like a canned beer. Also very skeptical of any beer in a green bottle, but that's a discussion for another time. Don't drink it out of the can. Find a pint glass, pour in the pint glass, you'll thank me for it. But if you do find a pint glass and pour it in a pint glass, Buffalo Sweat is really good. It is it's very, very creamy milk stout. It's so smooth, has almost no bite to it, but still has all of that stout flavor. It's a very, very solid stout. There are some people that swear by it and say it's the only dark beer they'll drink, which I think those people are a little bit crazy because dark beers are delicious. But anyways, that's the beer I'm going to recommend. I keep looking up here because obviously I'm in a hotel room right now, so I have like the TV I'm using as my second monitor, and it's mounted on that wall. So anyways, other announcements. First, I want to apologize for both this ARB being late and for not doing one last week. Last week was sort of a holidays thing. I was really busy, just really didn't have time to get to it, and was just like, you know what, not even going to worry about it this week. And if you followed at TankSpot or myself on Twitter, you would know that. Then the other thing, the reason it's late this week is I didn't have time on Sunday, because this usually comes out on Tuesdays, is what's supposed to happen. But I was going to be traveling on Monday, but I didn't have time to do it on Sunday, so I figured, well, I'll get to my destination in plenty of time on Monday. I'll just do it from the hotel on Monday. Yeah. So, my connection was through Chicago. It was -14 Fahrenheit in Chicago. Brr. Yeah, I ended up traveling for 21 hours. Our flight to Chicago was delayed for 4 hours, and the flight from Chicago to upstate New York was also delayed, like, similar amount of time. So when we finally got on the Chicago flight, I'm like, alright, I get the Chicago flight, it'll be real late, but I'll still get in, whatever. While I'm in the air to Chicago, they cancel my flight to upstate New York. Rochester specifically is where I am right now. Don't come find me. That's just weird. Anyways, then so that flight gets canceled, and so I'm trying to figure out how to get here because I'm doing work here, and uh, they have all the like. Basically, I wouldn't have been able to get in until like late Tuesday night or something. I didn't want to deal with that, but what I did find is I found like one last flight going to Albany, which is a 3.5 hour drive away from Rochester. So I took it and drove, landed at Albany at 12:30 at night, then drove 3.5 hours to Rochester. Ended up getting into my hotel room until like 4:45 in the morning or something. I've been up for almost 24 hours at that point, and so yeah, I went to bed. Um, but I've got a little bit of time now, so giving you a show. Um, Other news though, there the other news is there's not much news. There's just there's really just not a lot going on in the World of Warcraft right now. Um, Maybe it's because the holidays just got done, and I'm sure they've been real busy. They had a huge BlizzCon. They have 2 games in active beta, 2 more games about to come out in beta. I'm sure they're working on Legacy of the Void also. I mean, Blizzard's busy, but that means there's also not a whole lot of news for us, especially for WoW. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to expand this show to questions about gaming and games in general. So, if you have any question about any game, if I play it, I'll try to respond to you. So, right now I'm kind of only really playing like Hearthstone or World of Warcraft, but I played a ton of games before. I've touched on a lot of games. Played a lot of Borderlands 2. Didn't actually like Bioshock Infinite. Probably gonna get some hate mail for saying that, but if you want to know why, I can explain it. I am really looking forward to Star Citizen. I will probably make an entire other show that's just dedicated to Star Citizen. That is how much I am excited for Star Citizen. But it's still in pre-alpha right now, so I can pretty much go to my hangar and walk around my ship, and that's about it. I guess I can shoot things in the little shooting gallery off the side of the hangar, but yeah. But anyways, I'll be playing Heart of the Storm when it comes out. We're gonna ask questions about League of Legends. Sorry, Heart of the Storm. Wow. No, that's not a thing. Heroes of the Storm. Heart of the Swarm. Heroes of the Storm. Screw you, Blizzard, for having 2 games with the exact same acronym. But yeah, or if you want to ask me about console games, I've played my fair share of Call of Duty in the past. Although I haven't played the new one, but I kind of want to. But do I buy a PS4? Do I buy an Xbox One? And the NSA probably already knows everything about me anyway, so might as well just get an Xbox One. I don't know. But anyways, it's going to be more about gaming in general. Still be about World of Warcraft. I'm still going to try to make this primarily World of Warcraft show. If you want to talk about Hearthstone, we'll talk about Hearthstone. We'll do a bunch of other stuff. But this week, I got a question in that was such a good question that I want to make this whole show is going to be about that. Real quick before we jump into the topic, I also want to talk a little bit more about Get Buffed. I feel really bad that I didn't do an episode last week because last week was when doing the Get Buffed challenge actually started. So we already have a few people signed up for the for Get Buffed, the World of Warcraft weight loss challenge. It's over at blizzmaster.com. It is not a tank spot thing. It's blizzmaster.com. So you can go to forum.blizzmaster.com and go to like events and then Get Buffed. There's a thread in there that explains everything, how you can have your submissions. You can see my submission on there as an example. You can start a daily journal. There's a whole bunch of daily journals already started up. Everyone's talking. You can pick a sponsor to win the tertiary prize of some game time. So yeah, uh, it's rolling. Go over to forum.blizzmaster.com. Go to events, get buffed, and start rolling from there. Let's get healthy. Let's be healthy gamers, because I fat. Um, anyways, so let's go ahead and move on to the question, which is, should WoW have something that has a minor effect on combat ability that is persistent through the expansions, like AA points and EQ? I guess the bigger question is, should there be a barrier to entry of new players? As a longtime WoW player, I find it frustrating at times to have the only thing to show in game for my many years of work is achievements/titles. Every time I get top end gear, it is obsolete in the blink of an eye. From Windfoot. Also, Windfoot joined the Get Buffed challenge. He's trying to lose weight with us, so go Windfoot, yay! But anyways, this is just an absolutely fantastic question, because the root of this question is persistence. Um, what should there be anything, and what should those anythings be that carry on through the levels? Because you know what, I completely agree with him. I feel kind of like I've been at the top tier for a lot of the expansions. I've done some really cool things, and I have almost nothing to show for it. I have a couple mounts that you can't get anymore. Because I have the original Amani Warbear that you can't get anymore. I have the Plagued Proto Drake, which I'm pretty sure you can't get anymore. I almost got the black one. We had a Mage DC on Thaddeus, and that was the only death. Oh, that was a stupid achievement. Anyways, and I have a couple server first titles. And really, I think server first titles are still the only. Are they even still doing? I don't even think they're still doing server first titles. I don't remember. I haven't been that good in a long time, so. But you know, even the concept of server first titles is still a little wishy-washy. Like, okay, like what happens if you're in a high pop server like Illidan or something where sorry, unless you're in Blood Legion, you're not. They're on Illidan, right? I don't know. Unless you're in their guild, you're not going to get any server first titles. Doesn't matter if you're 2 days behind, 2 months behind. It doesn't matter that you did all of the content. You're not going to get a server first title, even though you may beat the pants off of the people on the Scryers or whatever that. I'm sure the Scryers has been merged by now, but it used to be like the bottom and the bottom population server. Like you beat the pants off them. They got a title and you didn't, and the only reason they get a title is because they're on an awful server, but you did better than them. So why? Yeah. So I'm not a huge fan of server first titles. I am a fan of special titles, and at least that's something that you get to see through the ages. And I still wear my Grand Crusader title because that's the one I'm the most proud of. I still use my Amani Warbear every time I can because I'm really proud of it. The prototype kind of looks like crap, so I don't really use it. But you know, right now he's right. Like those little things that people may not even know what the heck that was are the only things that really persist through the levels. Everything else just goes away. Now you can make the argument that, well, you can transmog your gear that you got and then you can look like that. Well, yeah, but you can go back and farm all of that now. Like, big whoop. Okay, you're wearing tier 6. You can solo that now. Good job. It's no longer a sign of accomplishment, and really, what the game is about isn't. It's not really your title. It's not really your mouse. It is what your character looks like. It's your avatar in the game. So I agree with him that there should be some things that you should be able to show that persist through the game. Now, one of the things that I would love to see, and Blizzard has said they're not going to do this, and I'm so mad at them because they say this, and I really hope they renege on that. But I really think that there should be class epic quests, or class legendary quests. In EverQuest, it was called an epic quest. Now, I'm going to go back to talking about EverQuest for a little bit, and then we'll go back to my idea about class legendaries. Because if you look at the question again, it said, should WoW have something that has a minor effect on combat ability that is persistent through the expansions, like AA points and EQ? Now, for the majority of you watching this that probably never played EverQuest, you may be wondering, what the heck is an AA point? Well, I played EverQuest for 5 years before I started playing World of Warcraft, so I had me some AA points. AA stands, it should, for me, probably stand for Alcoholics Anonymous, but in this case, it stands for Alternate Advancement Points. What you did with an AA point is basically you could, instead of leveling, or so you could switch it to do AA instead of experience, or something like that, as I recall. It's been a long time since I played this game. But if you were at max level, it was all automatically all AA points. Basically, you could re-level, and in EverQuest it was experience equal to level 51. So I think I was like 70 at the time I was grinding most of my AA points. Between like, I think I was 60 for a while, then another expansion came out and I went up to 70. Yeah. Anyways, but basically it would be the experience equal to level 51. And you'd regrind that level over and over and over and over and over again, and you would get things that helped your combat ability. So, like, Ranger is what I played, so you could get, like, for so many alternate advancement points, you could get Endless Quiver. So as long as you had an arrow equipped, you would never run out of arrows instead of having to go buy more. That already happens in WoW, so not a big deal. But it's you get the idea of some of the abilities you could have. There was like one where the Ranger could turn into a wolf for a while that was like a defensive cooldown, or an offensive cooldown, and then there was a defensive cooldown that was like flashing blades or something. It basically works exactly like Die by the Sword for Warriors works now, is that you just parry every attack for X amount of time. And so this was sort of what they did instead of do they still have talent trees? I don't think EverQuest had talent trees, so this was sort of like their talent trees to an extent. Did EverQuest have talent trees? Point is, these alternate advancement points would persist through the levels, and you always had them. So if you had grinded up 200 plus alternate advancement points, then you had 200 plus alternate advancement points. The problem with alternate advancement points is that I feel like they give an unfair advantage to people who just sit there and just grind out the game. And it becomes harder, it becomes a barrier to entry, like he was talking about for new players. It's like, well, you haven't grinded level 51 over and over again for 200 times to get these special abilities, so you could be worth it in a raid. So why are we bringing you? Now, I don't think that there should be any persistent minor combat things that you get through the levels, mainly because I feel like that's already taken care of by the talent system. Now, I know that's kind of lame, that's not what you're looking for, Windfoot, because that's just something you get. Like, you hit that level, you get that talent. That's it. You don't have anything to show for all your experience and rating other than maybe a title that you probably don't use. So I don't think that there should be anything that is a persistent effect. What I would much rather see is things that you can see on your character, special transmogs that either no longer become available or you have to go back and do like a quest for. And then as each expansion comes out, that transmog then, the first one no longer becomes available. Like a new expansion comes out, the previous tier's transmog is available. Now you can still do the quest and get the item, but then in the next expansion, there's a upgrade to that item, so the quest continues, and then you could upgrade the transmog, and it will look cooler and expand. Another idea, and so this is going to link into my idea of class legendary quests. Now, I actually really, really do like the Cloak Legendary quest, at least as a concept. I don't necessarily. I think the grinding out 3,000 Valor, it's just kind of that makes me not even want to level my Warlock and try to get a third Legendary. That's just annoying. Um, it would be real nice if there was some way to help along ults if you already had the Legendary, so that you weren't just doing it again, or if it was varied, if it was class specific, if every class had a quest similar to the Rogue Legendary quest in Cataclysm, if each class had their own quest like that where you have to use special abilities, you gotta go solo stuff, like that stuff is fun. I will do that on all of my characters. Like I like doing that, and you get to earn this special thing that only your class can get. And so what if you can do it in LFR or whatever? Like if people are putting in the effort to get that special item, and it doesn't even need to be as overpowered as the current legendary is. I mean, there needs to be some sort of incentive to keep using it, but not make it mandatory, if that makes any sense. And I'm not entirely sure what that looks like. Um, but the whole idea becomes that you have this thing that only your class has, and it becomes a symbol of hard work that you've put in over the years. And people can look at that transmog or something similar like the green fire of the warlock or some sort of special weapon, and I think that those things are things that could persist through the game and look really cool when it's like, oh hey, there's a veteran player, that guy knows what the heck he's doing. Another thing I would have loved to see that you can't really go back and do it anymore, if it kind of depends on how they do legendaries in the future, but if you earned a legendary while it was current content, you could still transmog previous weapons to that. So the reason why they don't let legendaries be transmogged is twofold, because you can't transmog anything into a legendary, and you can't transmog a legendary into anything else. So the second part of that, you can't transmog a legendary into anything else, kind of makes sense. It's a legendary. It needs to look like the legendary. It's iconic, right? But I'm kind of on the you can't transmog anything to look like legendary, because if you got the legendary, why can't you show everyone that you got it, right? Like, why can I no longer use my warlock staff? Can't transmog anything. What I think would be cool is if you were able to unlock transmogging of a legendary weapon if you got it while it was current content. I think that sort of solves a lot of the problems of, well, if you let everyone transmog warglaives, then just everyone is going to use warglaives, and why even bother making models for new weapons, because everyone's just going to use the warglaives. And then warglaives are no longer legendary, because everybody has them, because they all just went and farmed them. Like, and they've now had 6 years or whatever to farm the warglaives. So I get that, which is why I say there needs to be some sort of current content lock, so that the people that did the content when it was there can transmog those special items later. And even, this doesn't even necessarily have to be a legendary quest line per people. It could be something similar to like the Garrosh heirlooms. Now, and you can even like make it different color schemes or whatever for if you did it in LFR, Flex, or Normal, or Heroic, or whatever. You could have an item dropped that basically is just a transmog drop that is separate from the normal loot table, that only drops off like the end boss. And I would argue that it needs to be some sort of structured remedy format. So in Warlords of Draenor, it would need to either be, I would even argue either Heroic or Mythic. If it was, some people may be like, well, what about Flex? Well, it'll be called Normal in Warlords of Draenor, but it's Flex now. I mean, that's progression for some people, but I feel like you need to make it still be sort of a more difficult thing than something that is specifically designed to be pug content. I know that what's now normal mode will be heroic in Warlords of Draenor is sort of pug content, but it's way more structured than Flex rating is right now, and will require more structure just because the fights will be harder. So I think that if you did heroic and Mythic, 2 different skins for each thing. Just whatever the end boss is, you can get something, and as long as you got it while it's current content, you could transmog into that. I think that would be a really cool thing. I think that would be a really great idea. Um, so yeah, but getting so those are my ideas of what can be persistent. But what I want to talk about now is the idea of persistence through a game. The idea that you are going that your character has part of the story. I mean, a lot of times when I talk to, like when I'm doing the Raytheon quest and he treats me like a nobody, I'm like, do you even know who I am, Raytheon? Like, I've killed old gods. I slayed Malagos. Like, I killed Sartharion. I defeated the Lich King. I did Mimiron when he was all on fire. Like, do you realize how many people I have slain and you're sitting here acting like you're a badass? Really? Really? But, I mean, there's also really no way he can know that because there's nothing I really have to show for it. But he brings up Woodfoot brings up a good point about the you can't make things that are like a barrier to enter the game. It needs to be something, which is why I kind of like my transmog idea more, but it needs to be something that is not essential to get. So I think it would be really kind of crappy to have players hit level 100 in Warlords of Draenor. It would be like, congratulations, you just grinded 100 levels, or 10, really. But now you have to grind all this other stuff to get like the abilities that you use in a raid. There's enough grinding as it is. I don't think we really need to have like alternate advancement points or anything like that that helps our combat even in a minor way, because people are going to say, "Oh, well, it needs to be optimal." So I don't think that should happen. In fact, I am very, very much against any barriers to entry to the World of Warcraft, especially since it's such an old game. Next year it'll be 10 years old. Ugh, man, that makes me feel old. Um, but seriously, it's almost a decade old game. Pretty much everyone that's gonna try it has tried it. You need to make it so if anyone is going to try it, there are almost no barriers whatsoever to playing the game with your friends. Which is why I love the you buy Warlords of Draenor, you get a level 90. I love it because now you don't have to grind out those first 90 levels in order just to play with your friends. Now you can, if you want to, or you can level your first 90 and then you can level another one with some friends. You know, whatever. But I think that the barriers to entry don't even talk about adding one because that's just we want people to keep playing the game. We want people to be able to play with their friends. We don't want the friends to start and be like, well, we never do anything together. Well, yeah, because you're level 14 and I'm level 90. Why would I? Like, I could help you with some stuff, but I mean, like it's so much better if the people could just hop in, have a little bit of the leveling experience, and then be able to play with you. So barriers to entry, no. Anyways, I hope you guys liked this episode, sort of this single topic episode. Actually, this week we were sort of talking about persistence and permanence. I already have a topic for next week. Next week, we're going to talk about death in video games. Should be really interesting. Anyways, signed up for the Get Buff Challenge for your chance to win a collector's edition of Warlords of Draenor. Head over to forum.blizzmaster.com. Also, please like and subscribe if you like this. Feel free to give me any feedback. You can send me any questions about any video games, be it World of Warcraft or Star Citizen. I may or may not be in WildStar beta, and if the NDA is or is not updated, I may or may not be willing to field questions on WildStar. Also trying to get into the ESO beta. We'll see if that happens. Um, but Hearthstone, I'll probably do a Hearthstone episode pretty soon. Sort of give you my philosophical musings on Hearthstone or any other game. Feel free to send your questions. You can tweet them to me at Aggathon. You can send me a PM on TankSpot to the username Aggathon. You can now go to the Blizzmaster forums, and there's an Aggathon's Rage Bar forum where you can post your questions to me, or you can send me a PM on those forums as to the username Aggathon. So, lots of ways to get a hold of me. Hope you guys are enjoying the show. Sorry it's been so long since I really done an episode. But I will see you all next week.